14:20 in the morning for this January 23rd, 2023. Today's show is brought to you by MahlerBrothers.com. Go to MahlerBrothers.com for all your golf apparel. Use promo code 1420BROS at MahlerBrothers.com and get 10% off of your first purchase of all your golf apparel out there. It's got some great stuff there. Fellow Belly Up member. Anyways, we'll have some NFL chat tonight with 1420 Dave. He'll be back on the show tonight to break down the weekend that was the NFL. Some great games, some not so great games, some kind of duds of the weekend. But anyways, we'll get to that later on. But maybe it's time to reevaluate how we follow these coaches and follow these athletes and talk about who we talk about and give people the due course or the respect that they think that they deserve. Three old school coaches in the National Hockey League, three different stories that came out of the weekend. We'll start with Daryl Sutter. On Saturday afternoon, the Calgary Flames, they got the 14-20 boost. They went out and they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. A great hockey game on Hockey Day in Canada. We'll talk about that maybe on the Flailing Tender podcast later on in the week. But the Flames have played a great hockey game. They got the win. They got they played hard and the like. After the game, Daryl Sutter was asked about rookie Jacob Pelche's debut in the National Hockey League. Pelche plays for the farm team that's in Calgary as well, the Calgary Wranglers. Love that they brought that old school look and name back to the old Western Hockey League days back in the early 80s before they left for Hurricanes. They were the Calgary Wranglers. And anyways, people know about that. But anyways, Sutter was asked about Pelche's debut, and then he put his reading glasses on, brought out the program, the game day, whatever it's called, about the stats that happened that day, and he asked what number is he, and went through his stat line, 6 minutes played, and on and on and on, being an absolute ass in my opinion about it. If you don't like the kid, that's one thing, or if you don't think he deserves to be up, that's another thing. But this kid, he's worked his entire life. His family's worked hard their entire lives. I know it's a different way of getting to the National Hockey League nowadays. Things are just different. They're not better. They're just different. But the kid, he's worked hard. He got the National Hockey League. He's having a good season, a great season actually, with the Calgary Wranglers in the American Hockey League. And for Sutter to make a mockery of this kid's debut in the post game presser, that's what's going to be remembered by him, his family, fans across the way. It was a real nozzle move by Sutter. He didn't have to do that. He could have just said it was a nice debut for the kid. He's got a long ways to go to be a regular National Hockey League, but he had a nice debut. He didn't make any mistakes. He did this, he did that right, he did this right. Just be nice. It's not hard. We talked about it last week on the 14:20 in the morning. It's not hard to be nice, and it's really for Sutter to go through those antics the way he did. That it took a lot more work for him to pull that off, and for him to think of that ahead of time. It was a nozzle move. Yeah, it was a big win. Yeah, the reporters could have talked about some other things. I'm sure they did. But for Sutter to go overboard the way he did, I didn't think was appropriate. I think it was kind of a dickhead move. In fact, it was a dickhead move. I'm not even thinking it was a dickhead move. That kid, he deserved better than that. Nobody deserves to be talked about that way in their National Hockey League debut. If he went out and made a horrible mistake and was -3 and the like, and everything else went horribly, then he could have, then Sutter could have said what he said and gone about things that way. There was no reason for Sutter to make a mockery of that, and it goes back to a battle he's got going with Treliving about Pelche even coming up. He doesn't think that the kid's ready to come up. He thinks he's too small, and on and on and on. But anyways, I thought it was it was a ridiculous move by Sutter to talk that way. People talk that way about another guy I'm going to talk about how much of a dickhead John Tortorella can be. We'll get to him in a second. But the way Sutter does it, it's pretty much the same way. Sutter can never give a straight answer. It always has to be tongue in cheek, and people find it funny a lot of time. But lately, maybe it's me getting old, maybe it's me getting sensitive. But lately, he's been a little bit more too tongue in cheek and a little bit too direct. Why can't you just answer a question? Like, why does it always have to be about you? Why do you always have to be the smartest guy in the room and pretending to be the dumbest guy in the room? Like you're pretending to be Elmer Fudd and you're not. I think it's time for Sutter to actually quit it. That move that he pulled on Saturday was unnecessary, not needed, and I think he deserves I think that Pelche kid deserves some kind of an apology. He's not going to get it, and it's not a thing that I hope that they do over the airways, because then it'll look like it's him being a little too sensitive, a little too millennial, or whatever the word I'm looking for is. But I don't think it was appropriate for Sutter to do it. Let's get into Mr. Tortorella. Last week with the Jacob Provorov situation about the LGBTQT, I didn't get that right this time. LGBTQT plus situation. The Flyers had their night last week. Ivan Provorov decided he wasn't going to play. We all know the story. He didn't want to, didn't take part in warm up because the rainbow themed jersey and the tape and the sticks and things. And Mr. Tortorella, he doubled down, saying, "I think he's well within his right. He has his beliefs. He has this. He doesn't have to do what he's got to do." Let's go back to beliefs back in 2016, I think it was, with Mr. Colin Kaepernick in that situation, with him taking a knee, fighting for the proper for the rights of Black people across the country. The police situation that was happening back then, all that stuff. We all know that story. Kaepernick took a knee during the national anthem, and that whole story got construed that he was disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the national anthem and disrespecting veterans and the like, and that wasn't the case at all. It was a way for people to say, "Hey, cops are being shitty. They're being bad people." And I mistook it at first too. And I did a little more research on it. It took me about 3 minutes to do some research on that, by the way, about what Kaepernick was trying to do and why he did it. It was drawing attention to cops being shitty, and that's what it was all about. Anyways, back then, Mr. Tortorella said anybody who takes a knee or doesn't stand during the national anthem, they'll be benched. They won't be able to play on my team. So those beliefs are okay for Mr. Tortorella on that one, right? That if a person has a belief, they can't do this. But if a person has a belief for the LGBTQ or against the LGBTQT movement and the like, that's okay. Tortorella, know your role, man. Like, you can't be on both sides of the fence on this thing. Like, it's really shitty that this comes into the world of sports, but you put yourself out there and you say things that are inappropriate, that's going to come back on you. The internet's a funny thing. Yeah, it's a funny thing because things stay out there. Yes, you did retract on your verbiage about what you said about the Kaepernick situation a few years ago, but you still believed it. And did you retract your words and your verbiage because you were getting heat from the media? Were you getting heat, or did you actually mean what you said? Because what you said the other day went against what it was a person's beliefs, and a person's beliefs are this, and a person's thoughts are this. So you can't be on both sides of the fence on situations, man. Like, Tortorella, you know your role, know your spot. You're a hockey coach, and like I said last week, maybe it's time to take all this crap all this stuff out of the hockey world, out of the sports world, because it becomes into this movement, and it becomes this thing that sports isn't about. Sports it's supposed to be entertainment and the like. But Tortorella, you put yourself out there. So Tortorella and Sutter, you guys got to stop it. Like, you guys got to really know your thoughts and what you're saying, and go this way, because you're twisting minds, you're twisting people. Because this Provorov thing is taking on a beast of its own. It's bringing out a lot of I don't want to say hate, but it's bringing out a lot of disdain for things. And all of a sudden, for some reason, the Provorov jersey is the most sold jersey. So to me, that's people going against the LGBTQT community. It's a pretty bad look for the Flyers fans that this jersey is the most sold. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. And read it any way you like, and get back to me if you want at 1420.com and everything else, because that's actually facts, man. It's not a coincidence that the Provorov jersey is the most sold jersey in hockey right now. It's a bad look for the Flyers, for Tortorella, and the like. They try to do something good, and it got turned into something that's pretty ugly right now. So Tortorella didn't like the Kaepernick thing because the belief situation that Kaepernick had and players could have had, but he's okay with one belief system that Provorov has. There's got to be a fine line in there somewhere, and it's not there. So maybe we just got to get it out of the sports world. It's all together. Sutter, grow up. Tortorella, know your spot. And then the third coach I want to talk about quickly is Bruce Boudreau. Situation with the Canucks, they just can't not stumble on their own feet, no matter what goes on there. It's a bad look with them, how they brought in this super coach Rick Tocchet to save the world. Tocchett's has not had a great track record in the National Hockey League, but that's not a big deal. That's neither here nor there. I guarantee the Canucks win 2 of their next 3 because they have a pretty weak schedule coming up, and it'll look good on management that the Canucks will have a chance to win a couple of games. And most times when coaches come in, they win 2 or 3, 3 or 4, 4 or 5, and then they go right back to where they were. Because like I've said before, here at 14:20 in the morning, your record says who you are, especially at this point in the season. There's one team in the history of sports, I think, that came out of the January doldrums. That was the St. Louis Blues in 19, I think, to come back and win the Stanley Cup when they were having a rough go, and Sheena Easton and the Gloria song saved their season. So that's the one thing. But anyways, the Canucks, the way they handled the Boudreau situation, we reported here on 14:20 in the morning that Canuck was coming, that Tocchet was coming in to be the next head coach, and was going to happen sooner rather than later. How I heard about it, the world knew about it. It's really crappy that stuff gets out, because it's still a human being. Yeah, you as a coach in any sport, you do get hired to get fired. I get it, but last year you took seemed like a very nice man in Bruce Boudreau out of retirement to come and save your season, which he did. And you guys were a shitty team. You're a shitty team now. You're a shitty organization, and that's just how it is. The way you guys handle your situation, it's quite awful. So that's tale of three coaches. It's too bad it has to get this way with these guys, and maybe reporters have to maybe take microphones out of people's mouths. I know it's their job. I know it's my quasi job as a podcaster to get these things out and talk about these things. But just the way it all came about this weekend. These are three grown men. Boudreau was treated quite terribly. Mr. Tortorella treated people terribly, and Mr. Sutter treated people terribly. And it's not the way to go about doing things. It's not hard to be nice, and in fact, it takes extra effort to not be nice. And being nice is important. It's really important because people are human beings. At the end of the day, no matter how much money you got and the like, it's very important to try to be nice. Anyways, today's that's my rant for the day. We'll do another one.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.